Delighted to be presenting with the lovely Jessica and Tamsin from the National Gallery. So we'll be hearing their story shortly, and there's a lot there they're going to be sharing with you. And I was delighted to able to convince them to join me on this webinar. And my name is Costa, your host for today. Very quickly, some housekeeping. The webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you afterwards. So feel free to take your notes, but this will come your way. Keep comments and reactions coming in. So as I'm talking, as I'm sharing, as Tamsin and Jess start sharing their story as well, you have any thoughts, observations, share your comments, share your reactions. We'd love to hear from you. And we're here to help during the webinar, after the webinar. If you have any questions, do get in touch and we'll be delighted to support you. We have a mixture of people joining us here today, some clients, some non-clients. For those of you who are meeting us for the first time, we are People Insight, and our mission is to be the most actionable employee experience platform powered by people. And that means two things and being done very well. So one is having our own agile AI-powered platform, which makes life far easier and intuitive when it comes to analyzing results and making sense of data. And also the first-hand experience in driving surveys, creating the right programs, and ensuring at the end of it, there's that high-impact delivery that leads to change. We work with a variety of organizations, a real mixture, different sizes, small, medium, large, sectors, public, private, not-for-profit, global organizations, all unique in their own rights, but very similar in that they are all aspiring to create high engaging, high performing cultures for the performance reasons, of course, and results, but also for the people. Now, before we move on to the story that will be shared by Jess and Tamsin about the National Gallery and what's been done there, I just want to touch on action planning. We all know this is an integral part to any survey process, to any listening strategy and program. It's a crucial part, of course, and every organization is going to perhaps be at a different point in that journey. And it is a process and a journey. There's no right or wrong with where you are currently. We might be, when you look at your own program, for instance, you might see yourselves in the red category, which is we're building this capability. We're not there yet. It's not consistent. This is normal, especially if you just started the process. Amber, we're making some progress. We've got some good things happening. We've put some steps in place, some consistency, some managers on board, some managers not yet, need some convincing and so on, but we're getting there. And green, which is we've nailed it. We've got managers asking, when is the dashboard going to be ready? When are we going to see our results? Really driven to go out and make change happen. And we've got leaders at the top who really want to take ownership together as well. Using the chat feature, we would love to hear from you. You can keep it simple and just put down in the chat feature in the comment box now if you feel you are red, if you feel when it comes to action planning for yourselves you're amber, or if you feel you are green. And furthermore, we'd love to know, if you don't mind sharing, what makes you think you are red, amber, or green. Where would you put yourselves right now in that process? Now, when it comes to surveys, what we have often seen from our experience and still seen is there's a lot of effort and investment being put in at the start of any survey program. So when it comes to designing of the questions, the branding, the distributing, the getting the right response rate, encouraging people, big investment and good effort. And also when it comes to analyzing, people get their dashboard, for instance, they spend some time, they invest time into looking at the results and what the data means, grabbing some of that insight. But when it comes to what we do afterwards, effort drops, time drops, a number of things start to fade away. It reminds me of the feedback I would get when I was at university or college. Whenever I wrote a dissertation or essay, teachers always say to me, Costa, fantastic introduction, fantastic methodology, fantastic statistical review, even results section. But when it comes to my conclusion of discussion, they could just tell my energy drops, and it reminds me of that 10%. But that was the crucial part that gave you the most marks. And it's the same for this. That is the element, that responding part of 10%, where we know if we can increase and create effective action planning and fantastic execution, that's what bridges the gap between employee voice and real organizational change and high impact outcome. And that's where we want to get to. Now, why do organizations struggle with action planning? There's a number of things, but if we pick the four that we see most commonly, we'll say firstly, time and resource, not enough time, not enough resource in the day. We're all busy. In fact, things feel like they're getting busier. So we need to be very smart with how we work, of course, but that's the number one. Number two, line managers not properly trained or equipped, where they feel they lack guidance. They feel a sense of imposter syndrome, as if they should know what they should be doing with this, but they don't know what they should be doing at the same time and don't want to talk about it, but they struggle there. We know survey data feels overwhelming. You get the results in, all these numbers, all these results, hundreds of comments or thousands of comments even. How on earth do I go making sense of all of this and getting the right thing I want to focus on? And of course, no accountability or follow-up process. Who takes ownership? How can we view that ownership and that accountability and make sure momentum is maintained? Now, how can people insight help? So they're back to the two things we mentioned earlier. So the technology is the first thing. So at the heart of our dashboard, at the center of it is an action planning center, an action center that allows easy assignment, tracking, recording of progress of the actions themselves, nudging managers to remind them of those actions as well. And on top of that, a visibility from the top, so HR, the people team, to see what does progress look like? Where is help needed, perhaps, for some managers? Then there's our AI engine, Prism, which does a lot of the heavy lifting for yourselves. It cuts through all that hours and hours of work that we could spend analyzing results, and it gives us a good immediate understanding and insight on what other things to focus on, and also recommends actions going forward. It even sends an email if needed to managers with those recommendations and actions for their specific team. So we're talking about really shaving 4 to 8 hours of managers' time and providing them with the areas they can focus on. So from data to action, no spreadsheets, no chasing, just straight to the point, cut into the chase, and really focus on the thing that's going to have that high impact. But as we know, as much as we use technology every day, we know it's not technology itself that makes the change, but the people, and hence the powered by people element from people inside. So with the expertise we have, we really support with, of course, getting really involved, hands-on, and working close with our partners to really understand what the narrative is and how they can translate that insight into real meaningful action. And sometimes that's up close and personal. It could be a one-to-one session. It could be presenting to an exec team, getting close to all staff, like we did at National Gallery 2 weeks ago, presenting to everyone the results of the survey and giving an objective and external view, of course. But of course, working with workshops, working on focus groups, working in a variety of ways to ensure we create alignment and build that momentum going forward. So these two things being put together really well does correlate highly with that high impact outcome you are looking for, of course. Now, of course, to the main event of today's webinar, where Jessica and Tamsin will be sharing their story. Now, when I went to present at the National Gallery, I think it was a few weeks ago, and they shared some of the things they've been doing, I said immediately, I need to get you both on a webinar to share your story, because they are talking about a topic that we sometimes ignore. And I've been guilty of this as well, because we feel there's not much we can do around benefits or pay, for instance, and so on. So it's in line with the benchmark and therefore it's okay. But they have proven actually you can really put the right actions in place and listen to people and make something happen. We've partnered with them twice, and they've been awarded twice the Outstanding Workplace Award based on the engagement results. That's not all down to us, of course. They've done terrific work as well, and now partnership together. So over to you both to start and share your story, and I'm sure I'll chip in with some questions and observations as we go.
Great, thank you so much, Costa. Hello, everyone. I'm Jess, I'm the head of HR here at the Gallery.
Hi, I'm Tamsin. I'm Deputy Head of HR at the National Gallery. Nice to meet you all.
So we're going to take through, brilliant. Sorry, Ryan. I thought you might have just been messaging us there. We're just going to take control of the screen and present some of the things that we did when we launched actually our first ever staff survey in 2023. We've never actually done a staff survey before, which is quite mind-boggling, I guess, for an organisation to only in 2023 launch a staff survey. but it was a great place for us to start. So I took over managing the team back at the end of 2022, and then appointed Tamsin, I think probably around 2023, as my deputy, and I don't know what I'd do without her. So just going to talk through a bit about what we did, and I'm going to try and not babble and keep things concise if possible. But in particular, we'll start with our staff survey results from this year. So this was just so incredible to see. Made a huge amount of work and so much effort put into, in particular, looking around our benefit structure. I'd say in terms of pay, we haven't really, we haven't changed what we do in terms of pay, but it was super interesting to see how much that had shot up with regards to people being satisfied with their rate of pay, whether or not there's the culture of reward here at Gallery, whether or not we can link that to the amount of work we've done. In particular, looking at our staff benefits that we have for our people. Tamsin, do you want to talk a bit about the work that we did to get to this point?
Yeah, so I'll go back to 2023 and what made us decide actually now is the time to survey our staff, because there had been some resistance. We'd actually wanted to do a survey for quite a long time, and I should probably at this point step in and just say that Jess and I have been at the gallery for quite a long time. I am coming up to 12 years in February, which is absolutely crazy. I joined as HR assistant and kind of slowly sort of climbed up to this position. And Jess, you've had eight years as well?
8 years. I initially started as an agency worker. I was only supposed to be here for 3 months. And then things have escalated, and I'm still here now. So yeah. Combined 20 years.
Wow, it's crazy. But I think what I'm trying to get across is that I think we're in a very privileged position of being able to see and chart that progression. When I started in, oh my gosh, it was 2014 now, that we'd always wanted to do a survey, but there wasn't really any appetite for it. I feel like there was a bit of resistance to surveying our staff when perhaps we were, say, in the red sort of part of that scale. Because I think leadership didn't want to sort of highlight any issues. And we were like, no, this is a great time to sort of start tracking that journey. So I think something that was really significant to us was when, we had a change of director and he was sort of, I'm not sure about it. Maybe in a couple of years, there was some organisational change that we were going through. And then when we got to the end of that change, we were sitting there like, okay, is now the time? And then in 2023, we started having conversations with Costa and decided, let's just do this and we'll just accept whatever result sort of comes up and take it from there with that sort of view of being, well, we're going to be honest with people. If we're not quite where we want to be, that's okay. It shows that we are listening to you and we are motivated to make things better. So I think that was a really good starting place. And we just kind of thought, well, we'll just accept whatever comes up. We were actually quite pleasantly surprised with how we did. But then I suppose the really incredible thing is just tracking from 2023 to 2025 and to see that actually the work that we put in after the results of the 2023 survey have really, really paid off. And some of those things that we've done are kind of smaller things, maybe don't have such a big financial impact, and we'll kind of get on to in the next slides of some of the things that we did. Something as small as sort of offering free fruit, or we started offering free sanitary products in women's toilets. It just sort of started to sort of signal to people that actually we really do care. We can make small differences. We're listening to you. But yeah, so that's sort of how things started. After the results of 2023, we kind of looked at all of the feedback with Costa, very much being handheld by Costa, which was very much appreciated. And we sort of thought that most of the comments, the qualitative feedback that we got from people fitted into 3 categories with regards to benefits. So family-friendly benefits, this was something, especially, in 2023 against a backdrop of real, cost of living crisis. This came up repeatedly about financial support for parents, sort of parents feeling a bit exhausted. We had lots of suggestions for having an on-site creche, which, whilst lovely, wasn't very practical, but nonetheless, we appreciated that feedback of, it kind of helped us to see what people, parents and carers were kind of dealing with, and that work-life balance. Living and working in London, so that was, again, really cost of living crisis, so not just for parents, obviously, but for everybody, all of our staff, and the difficulties that they're all going through with regards to rising prices. And then health and well-being was another huge topic that kind of came up. So sort of breaking it down into these 3 areas and sort of labelling them was kind of the start, to see where we wanted to go with it, and just sort of really starting a story. What we wanted to do is kind of tell a story with it. These are the 3 things that, you know, we could largely see in relation to benefits. Now we can start tracking these, starting a conversation with people, start consulting with all of our staff, and then we'll measure how we've done against those 3 themes. And then we sort of started consultation with staff through the setup of working groups and talk about sessions.
Yeah. So how we started off was I started together the action plan for the areas that we wanted to work on, and then focusing on benefits. We presented it to the team and we're like, well, these are our 3 kind of top line things that people have said in terms of the themes. Then grouped members of the team up, because we really, I'm doing this again with them tomorrow actually, in terms of the staff survey results for this year, in terms of grouping them into you know, pairs or whatever, to take it forward so that the whole team has ownership over this work, because I think that was really powerful as well, that the team have input into this, so it's not just a couple of us going away doing this work and setting these things up. The entire team, you know, you can go to our payroll manager and ask them about some of our benefits, and they know because they were part of the process to get these set up. So we assigned each of these elements to some of the teams, go away, do some research, present back as well, and then we then took it from there in terms of, okay, these would be recommendations and suggestions. I took that forward to our executive committee to get their endorsement on, here are some of the suggestions we have, here are some of the things we'd like to take forward, putting a cost to it, of course, because for some of these things it would be new, and that, you know, there was a cost element to it of varying levels, I would say, which I can talk about in more detail as we go forward. Once we got that endorsement, which I think it's often hard, and as Tamsin said, we haven't always had the endorsement of senior leaders to really progress and invest in this type of stuff. So there are certain challenges around that, but you really do want that support from your leadership team to be like, to say, yes, go for it, run with it. I then took this information and we had a load of focus groups and drop-in sessions with our staff to say, here's what we're proposing. We, of course, involved our trade unions as well to show them these are the actions that we want to take. And so taking staff on the journey. So we asked them what they needed and what they would like support with. We showed them, well, here are some of the suggestions directly linking in from the survey results, and here's what we've put in place. And I think that's the piece that's been the most powerful, that people can see that we've listened to them and that we've taken that on board. So I think that engagement piece has been the biggest win for us. Of course, the benefits are amazing, but how we've engaged with our staff, how we've shown that we've listened to them and taken on board their feedback has been key, and involving the entire HR team, I would say, as well. Tamsin, do you want to talk through?
Yeah, I'll talk through family-friendly benefits. This was sort of my area that I led on with a couple of other members of the team. So we were just thinking, how can we help our contingency of parents and carers who have sort of are really telling us through the comments and the feedback that things are difficult for them at the moment. So there are a few things that we did. We introduced a key benefit. So there was a lot of research into sort of how can we help with childcare, because that was a reoccurring theme. Obviously, we can't provide a creche, unfortunately, for various reasons. But one really interesting benefit among many that kind of really stood out to us was a fairly new benefit at the time called Bubble for Work. Some of you may have heard of the parents among us here today of Bubble, which is an app, a childcare booking app. I can't remember, Costa, if you said that you've used it, but quite a lot of my friends, for example, who are parents, use this to book backup childcare, or even just to, you know, they're going on a date night, they need somebody, they need to find a sitter quickly, they can do that. And Bubble had just started a corporate sort of Bubble for Work initiative, targeting businesses, and then had started working with providers like I think it's Deliveroo and Uber to try and encourage more women back into the workplace. And basically how it works is you can give people, you can give all of your staff an allocation of a number of hours of childcare. In addition to childcare, there's also elder care, so for our carers, so people who have elderly parents or relatives that they're caring for, and also pet care, because many of our staff went and got pets during lockdown and needed somebody to look after them. So we, as the gallery, we decided to introduce 30 hours for everybody to use for whether it's backup childcare, to be used for holiday clubs during school holidays, elder care and pet care. And I'm absolutely amazed and so happy about how well that has been received by everybody. I mean, obviously 30 hours is, there are some companies I know that are much more generous. I know that there are some companies that are maybe, 10 hours, 15 hours, but I think it's just such a lovely gesture. It's been so well received. I think it's really, really innovative. I don't see many other companies using them, and they've actually been fantastic. I think the administration of it is really, really good. So it's definitely one that's worth looking into. I just think it sends a very powerful signal, not only to our employees, but anyone who might want to come and join us at the gallery, that if you are a parent, we will support you. We acknowledge the struggles of, managing work-life balance. If you are a carer. So I think it's an absolutely fantastic benefit, and one that we definitely intend to keep. And they seem to always be innovating and changing as well, introducing holiday camp, reimbursement for holiday camps as well. It's been very much appreciated by myself. Someone's just asked about how many staff we have. We're just about at the 500 mark now, just to give you some context. So that was a really key benefit. Yes, we do get some statistics on how many are using it every month, which is really helpful. Sorry, just responding to those comments as they come in there, just to aid understanding. So other things that we did improve our paternity leave provision. We did have some comments around that in the survey to 1 month of full pay. It was previously sort of, I think it was 2 months at full pay. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, sorry. And we also introduced a parents and carers network, which is an employee-led forum, but with HR present. So I attend that once a month. So it's an informal network. We ply everyone with biscuits and tea, and we all sit around and we share experiences. We talk about anything to do with being a working parent, and it's a lovely place for parents. And when someone comes back from maternity leave, we always encourage them to come and join us. And I'm giving a presentation today on flexible working there, so it's also information sharing from HR, but also just a place for people to let off steam, share tips, and I think that was really well received as well. And that obviously doesn't cost anything to set up. It just signals to people that we do care, we acknowledge the struggles, and we want to help. And I think that's been greatly received by our parents and carers.
I love that mixture of things, that some things that do, of course, cost the gallery, but at the same time, some things that don't. But either way, they're very tangible. Very quickly, they are very tangible and very visible, along with the things you're going to show now. Did you, when you implemented this, when this landed, how clear do you feel you made it that actually a big part of this is because of the feedback you gave us from the survey, hence why we've done it? How clear do you feel you made that link?
In everything that we did, pretty much, just being like following the star survey results, following what the information told us to really hit home that point. And I'd say we still do that now as well in the comms that we say we have this benefit because this is the information we got from our people, and this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Because that's one of the pitfalls we sometimes see, is just making that link back, and often organizations actually do fantastic things but don't link it back, so people don't think it's because of the survey or what they've just said. So it's great with every sentence and every time you have that chance to engage, you are saying because of the survey. Those simple words make that link obvious.
Definitely. Exactly. Costa. Yeah. Another, as Tamsin said, obviously cost of living crisis kind of, well, it definitely impacted all of us, didn't it? So that came up very strongly in the survey in terms of anything that we could do to support our people on the cost of living and breathing in London, travelling to, some elements about travelling to work and our cycle to work scheme. There were lots of comments on that as well. So one thing that we introduced was a rental deposit scheme with staff. This is an incredible benefit, I would say, to be able to say that we offer you. So essentially, for those that are renting, you obviously need to put a deposit down. What we do is we offer to pay for that deposit as a loan, and then you can pay it back to the gallery over a 12-month period. The take up of this is very, very low, but the appreciation for having it in place is super high. So I would say it's just a fantastic thing to be able to say to yourself, we will support you if you need this, in terms of, you know, you might not have the money to pay up front in terms of, sorry, Tamsin, I'm hitting you left, in terms of a rental deposit, but we could support you on this. In terms of the gallery, actually, you know, it doesn't cost us any, there's obviously an upfront cost, but we're deducting that over a 12-month period. So it's a benefit to the staff, but it doesn't actually technically cost us anything. The same with the cycle to work scheme as well. We've doubled the maximum loan that people can have, because it was a request that we had from people that they wanted to buy more expensive bikes, in particular electric bikes as well, which tend to be a bit more pricey. So again, the reality is it doesn't actually cost us anything because we get that money back from people as well. Sorry, I think there was just a comment on the chat. Staff networks. Yeah, we had one established network at the time, which was our EDI network, very, very broad. And I think what's happened is with the focus group and drop-in sessions, and I think we've really tried hard to build a culture of engagement with our people and openness and trust with us, which we didn't necessarily have as a team, I would say, prior to a few years ago. So I think what these things have done is make people think, actually, yeah, let's have a parents and carers network. We've got a menopause support network as well. We're about to launch a staff social group as well. But employee-led, I think, is always the way forward. But I think people need to feel empowered that they can set these things up, and they have our support as well. You know, they want a small pot of money, you know, if they need 50 quid a year to be able to buy biscuits, for example, that's absolutely fine to get people to come along. And you can have your staff to sort of run with that as well. So with the parents and carers network, you know, there are people who are really, really willing to help from across the organisation. So I would say, you know, if you have people that actually they feel passionately about something and they want to set something up, then they will do a lot of that work for you and you work with them. And it's just a really nice place to come together and share ideas, but without sort of impacting too much. It gives people a sense of purpose outside of their immediate jobs as well, I would say. So we have some fantastic people in the parents network who are sort of willing to do a lot of the work and the thought behind it. And yeah, so I think that it's a really easy, quick win, I would say. But there's meaning behind it too. It's not just for show. It's you know, it makes an impact genuinely. Yeah, employee-led with HR support is what I would say, rather than, because we've had this before as well, where we might put on like drop-in sessions and then no one will come unless you lure them with free food, which tends to be the way. But asking for volunteers, so for example, for this our social group, technically it comes from us in HR, but we want our staff to be the ones leading it and taking it forward. So that's something I would say. But I think you just have to embrace sometimes that you might put on drop-in sessions and no one will come, but at least you've done it. At least you've offered it. If you build it, they will come. Sometimes they will come. But back to the piece on living and working in London, some of the things we did was just reinforcing some of the things that we currently had in place as well. So season ticket interest-free loans for train travel, bus travel, for example. We've had that in place for many years, as most of you will as well. So just reinforcing the things that we do currently have as well. So messaging was really key on that. Health and wellbeing was probably the biggest investment piece. So I headed that up with a few members of the team, all of us really pitching into this. The most costly investment that we did for our people was introducing Medicash, which is a health cash plan for staff. So it was probably the biggest comment that we had actually in terms of support for health and wellbeing, in particular with the struggles of the NHS, which are still an issue now. People wanting to have our support in terms of looking into private healthcare scheme staff. Unfortunately, that's really something we cannot afford. However, we looked at some different options and Medicash came up. The reception for Medicash has been incredible in terms of the investment piece for that. So healthcare cash plans, how they work is you have different levels of support that you can offer your people. So with Medicash, there's 4 levels. We went for level 3, so one of the higher levels, just to show people not only are we introducing this scheme, but we're going for one of the higher levels. The cost difference actually was quite minimal, but we wanted to show people that we're going for one of the higher levels because you've told us that this is one of the most important things to you in terms of support you need. And we're not just going to go for the bog standard entry level. We're going to go for one of the higher levels here. This has been so incredibly well received. But also the variety of other things that we put on for our staff in terms of health and wellbeing, free sanitary projects in all of our toilets, which we've also introduced front of house in our gallery spaces as well. Free fruit, although I've been told in the last month people are now having double the amount of fruit, which is causing a bit of an issue. But
Jess, it's also good fruit. Just to say, I was there 2 weeks ago, and I was quite surprised you had pink ladies going for free, which are the most expensive apples. I mean, if it's a pink lady or Granny Smith, I'm happy, but they're very fresh fruit, so I was quite surprised.
And peelers as well. They've got to be easy to peel, otherwise people won't take them.
Yeah. We're quite strong on what we want for sustainability as well. So I'm always keen that we have like wonky fruit, for example, that, so that we're, in terms of food waste and things like that. But free fruit has been super, super popular and one of the cheaper things actually to introduce. We have a monthly yoga session on site, which I think we're actually going to do once every couple of weeks now because it's so popular and always gets booked out. That actually is very cost effective to run. We do that on site as well for people. We do massages a couple of times a year, which sounds like absolutely ridiculous, but actually it is quite inexpensive. It's just a 15-minute head and shoulder massage for those of us in particular that work at our desks hunched over, which is fantastic.
So popular. It's like everyone will just be like, the massages, it's so incredible. Yeah. And it's just really the cost of booking somebody for a day to come in. People sign themselves up themselves on a spreadsheet via SharePoint, so it's kind of very easy to run. And everyone comes up to us and thanks us afterwards. So we know it's appreciated. It's such a small gesture, but it goes a long way.
It sounds ridiculous, I think, when people, for people to be able to go home, well, I had a massage at work today, which is a bit like, oh, but actually it is quite cost effective. There's so many people out there willing to offer discounts and things like that for corporate bookings. So I definitely highly recommend looking into it. We then also really ramped up in terms of the regular workshops that we look to deliver. We used to focus on doing a health and wellbeing week, and then we did it as a month in October, for example, on running some things like drop-in sessions like health checks. We flu vaccinations on site, for example. What we try to do now is offer something every month. So near every other week we're doing something on health and wellbeing, and some of the things are just linked to some of the benefits we currently have. So making people aware of Medicash, with Medicash as well, and also with our EAP provider. There's so many toolkits and stuff on there that's just there that never gets utilised. So just putting the spotlight on them. Hey, we're going to have a webinar session or a drop-in session, and it's just directly linked from the free bits that we have already available on those platforms. We do this thing called Coffee Roulette, which was suggested by a former member of the team, which is super popular and is growing every month. So essentially, you can put your name in into the hat. We do a little, random name generator, and you get paired up with someone else who has also put their name forward. You get a coffee and cake voucher for our staff canteen, and you just meet someone randomly from around the organisation to have a chat with, talk about your experience at the gallery, talk about anything you like, really. And we've just managed to get all of our directors to sign up to do that, to commit to doing that from next month as well. Our employees on site for the majority of their working week, most of them, I would say, yes, some of them all the time because of the nature of their jobs. They might work in our retail stores, in our retail sites. We have a hybrid working policy for those of us that are office-based of around 3 days a week on site. Most people do more. And then on to the Q&A.
Thank you. I'm just going to take back control. Just to say, with the benefits, incredible stuff. How tangible, how concrete, how you followed on from the survey results. You made it meaningful. I mean, you know this from me when I presented, but I've been doing a lot of this work and experience the last 11 years. 11 years next month. Actually, now 13 years for previous experience as well. And I think that increase in benefit score is close to unheard of. And as I said earlier, it's one of those questions when it comes to benefits and pay. It's like, you know, it's in line with the benchmark and we're okay with that. It's hard to do anything about it. So we just leave it on the side as something sometimes we can't action. I think what you've proven, and this is why I was so keen on you both being here today, which is you've just demonstrated that no, actually, you can do something here without breaking the bank, and you can make it high impactful, and you can give that sense of appreciation from employees. And as you saw, that increase of, you know, what was it, 29%, your benefits question score 81%. It's 18 or 20 points higher than what we normally see with the external benchmark. And also you've seen that risen score when it comes to pay as well. So clearly the work has led to an impact, and I think that has generated also that belief in action we've seen with the survey this year around, that people actually think something is going to happen as a result, and listening takes effect. So well done to you both and all within the gallery, because I think it is fantastic work. We do have some questions that came through. I know you've both been doing very well, by the way, talking and answering questions as they come through. So you guys
are great at multitasking,
expert. You are. We have some more questions. So thanks for answering those, because we've covered those. I know there might be a few more Ryan might ping our way, but some more questions. I'm just going to pick as I go. So did you approach question design with interest in areas beyond general engagement? Which I know some of this, of course, working with you, but I'll over to you, to your approach to it.
Yeah, yes, we did. I think engagement for sure. We really wanted to understand where we were with our staff in terms of how engaged they felt working here at the gallery. We know that you know, especially in the heritage sector, people want to work in the heritage sector because they want to work in this kind of environment. Doesn't necessarily mean they're engaged. We have quite a high retention rate as well. But again, some of our roles are quite specialist, so there's very limited room for progression in other organisations within the UK, even some of them even in Europe. So engagement. What we've also wanted to see was the pockets of feedback from different areas of business, but engagement, I think, just formed part of that. So we looked at 6 areas, I think it was. So we also looked at leadership. We of course looked at pay and reward. We looked at opportunities. What are the opportunities we're providing our people? This year we ran a section on artificial intelligence, understanding. We were super interested in terms of understanding who's using it now, for what reasons, how do people feel about using AI.
Lots of people want to piggyback off of the survey, actually, and so we have to think, okay, do we let them? But obviously it's just such a great opportunity to get, you know, data back from our people. That the AI question kind of came in from our director of digital, but actually it's a great question. If we're going to start, you know, speaking about this a bit more, and you know, getting in that sort of, you know, are you using it, and if so, what for? It's so helpful. So yes, we did use it as, you know, the opportunity to ask a few more questions outside of, you know, just the fantastic questions that are already there as part of people insights suggested.
For those of you who haven't seen, and the National Gallery survey, the foundation of it was built on the Pearl model, which was designed and validated by People Insight, which covers the global factors that drive engagement, but those key themes like Jess touched on. So autonomy, enablement, leadership, rewards, those bits are covered. And then, of course, we added to it just to make it more meaningful. And like you say, Tamsin, people do pick it up. But that was a good question. I think, speaking to the IT director, it was more of a curiosity question, not right or wrong in how people responded, but curious to know, are people using AI in their day-to-day working, just to get that sense. Another question was, and you partly answered this as well, which is, once the pulse survey action plans were decided, were these communicated at plan stage or at execution stage? And by the sounds of it, you really onboarded people throughout the process and involved them and let them know.
Absolutely. I think at any stage possible. I think someone else had asked a question about that, how we communicated or who took the responsibility for that. I'd say we broadly did in the team, which is a great PR exercise for us in HR, I would say as well. And I really encouraged all of us in the team to host some of these focus groups and sessions as well, preparing people up as well. I'm very aware that some of the team aren't necessarily as as confident or want to speak to people, but I think it's important that people know who we are. So I paired people up so they have a bit more support on some of those things. And we all took responsibility for the communication piece as well in the team. I would say we don't have an internal comms person within our team, but we all took responsibility for putting things on SharePoint, which is our kind of intranet page, sending emails, hosting those focus groups. We've got some screens around our offices as well, so we make sure we put some information on there. Just chatting to people as well. We host drop-in sessions, as I say. If you can offer some free food to people, they will come, and then you can drive them to come along and then speak to them about some of the things that we're doing. I think Tamsin mentioned something this morning, and she said, say it and then say it again.
Yeah,
so keep
tell
repeating
them again.
Yeah,
and I think that makes them formal and informal. So, all of the team, as Jess said, were kind of giving presentations, sort of as we've done with you today. These are what our proposed benefits are, so people can see them on screen. But we also have drop-in sessions, and that's literally the coffee and biscuit, come and have a chat with us thing. We do actually, I would say, culturally as a team, have quite an open door policy. You could sometimes say maybe a little bit too open in terms of people kind of dropping in and wanting a chat, but I do think that also is a really great way of getting instant feedback from people as well, in between surveys as well. So people will come in and they will tell us what they think about our benefits. They will definitely tell us if they think things could be improved, or then they will sing the praises of things that we've done. So I think having a mixture of formal, informal, drop-in versus presentation versus all-staff presentation and town hall talk. And then also I think somebody said something about how do we use the benefits platform to manage these benefits. So Medicash, for example, and Bubble, they will come in and talk to your people, usually for free, promoting themselves as part of their service. So that's something that you can run as well as an event. Bubble might come in and they want to promote, for example, the new holiday camps, sort of offering that they offer alongside their usual childcare, elder care, pet care. So making use of all of the things and inviting them to come and speak. They want to promote themselves. It helps to promote you. They're really knowledgeable, and people can ask them questions about their platform, and the same with Medicash as well. So getting those people to come in and have a chat, but it's just kind of tackling it from all angles, I feel, helps.
Yeah, we don't have one benefits platform where all our benefits are. We just use our SharePoint site for that. So making sure that our HR, I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with SharePoint, but we have our own HR news site, but making sure all the information on there is up to date and easy to find. And one of the team did a very beautiful document that we have accessed. We have there, but we also have on our recruitment site as well, so people can see all the variety of benefits that we have on offer.
Thank you. And a couple more questions. I'm going to pick the one around translating the feedback into action. Did you feel it came down to yourselves often? I mean, it sounds like you have onboarded leaders over the last 2 years and really got them involved in, of course, buying into this. But when it came to action, were you happy with how much accountability sat with yourselves, or would you want to see more of that shifted onto others in the future in terms of leaders and managers?
I'd say in 2023, I was super keen that actually we took accountability and responsibility for this. I really wanted to do, since taking on the team, a huge PR exercise for the HR team to be like, well, this is our value. We do listen to you, and this is everything that we're putting in place. But obviously we can't do everything. So some of the questions we had around leadership, around facilities, we can't do all of that. So what we did is we did create the action plan, which did include areas that we wouldn't be accountable for, but we were responsible for engaging with those areas of business in terms of here's the suggestions from staff, here's what we could put in place, and let's work together in terms of making some of those changes.
And a question I'm just picking out here, which you've done a very good job on already, and you've spoken about that, of course, is someone has said it's difficult for us to give more pay-wise, but we have so many great benefits. How do I promote that and make clear how valuable those benefits are? Basically, when you mentioned how people are super appreciative of the benefits in place, how do you think organizations or people experiencing where this question is coming from could perhaps make that happen a bit more?
Something that springs to mind is running pulse surveys, I think, and especially within your network groups as well. So we did a recent example where we surveyed the parents and carers network, and we sort of asked them for their experiences. And I think that's a good thing that you can then obviously see the progress. We're asking them all sorts of things about work-life balance and, policies, and but also about, how often you're using bubbles. So that's a really good way to sort of promote it via the surveys, and also sort of for us to monitor as well. But how do I promote that, make it clear how valuable? I mean, in terms of how valuable,
I think having employee kind of cheerleaders. So we do have some of our employees that will be more open about how wonderful we are, of course. But some of the things that we also offer as well, and how important they are to them and what a difference they've made. So using their voice rather than just us in HR telling you, no, this is valuable because X amount of time or money goes into this. But when you can hear from a parent who's managed to get a childminder for a couple of hours paid for because they're at an event here at the gallery or something like that, it's much more powerful.
Yeah, that reminds me of the SharePoint post as well. So, I think we've had people who have written, we've asked them, has anyone had a great experience with Bubble that they'd like to blog about? And then they will, and people feel very strongly that this has helped them make that really important meeting at work that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to have gone to because of a childcare fail or someone being sent home from nursery. They'll write something, put it on SharePoint, other people view it and see it. It's not just coming from HR, it's coming from somebody who genuinely wants to write that piece. And it's inspiring, I think. Getting your networks to help with that too.
Yeah, I love that. Finding the key influencers, not just relying on yourselves to get the word out there, but finding the right stories and examples so people can share and talk about it. We know that peer-to-peer discussion, we know how people spread news across an organization. So I think I love that approach in finding those individuals and making that spread quicker and more positively as well. Another question, how often will you review employee rewards following the positive recent results? So of course, big jump in how people responded to those areas, fantastic things. What point do you review again and say, is this still relevant?
Well, every couple of years we will commit to asking those same questions in our staff survey. So we're just going through the feedback from this year, which of course is so positive, which is amazing. I think, as Costa mentioned, it's how do we keep that high level of engagement or try and better it? Because I think there's an element, if I look back to a few years ago, we didn't have anything kind of free on site, no tea or coffee or anything like that. Whereas now people are like, well, why can't I get decaf coffee, or this fruit, this apple today isn't as rosy as it should be. So there's an element of managing some how do we keep the satisfaction that high? But we will absolutely be committing to re-looking at them every 2 years, even if it's just some of the feedback that I've gone through every single comment for the feedback that we have from our people this year. Some of the comments, only a few of them, but are just like, well, what about this? Things that we already have. So just about reinforcing the messaging. Okay, this is what did you know, for example, is the key takeaway from me about sharing those things. Like, do you know you have access to this?
Yeah, and I think reminding people of the existing benefits they have is something, in life generally, forget the workplace, we take things for granted. So you give people pink lady apples and bananas and pears and oranges. Don't be surprised in a year people start asking for pineapples and mangoes and melons and so on and everything else. So, but reminding people what they have and how much the organization is given, like that itself is a job. So you've done this, implemented this, is staying on top of it, so people continue that sense of appreciation. One more question before I move on. And it might be difficult to answer given these results have just come in, but have your results, or do you feel correlated or would correlate with any other key business metrics? Like, do you think it will lead to productivity? Do you think it will help with absenteeism and so on?
I'd say for me, productivity, for sure, in terms of engagement, we've probably had most busy 2 years at the gallery here ever. The pressure that we've all kind of been under to deliver. What was our 200th birthday? We had a huge program of activities. We probably overcommitted to doing things. So actually the pressure was so high that we put on ourselves. So I was quite concerned actually that the results would show actually we put too much pressure on our people and they are completely burnt out. But I think for it to be overwhelmingly positive, and in particular referencing the areas of health and wellbeing support, was so amazing. And we had such a fantastic 2 years of everything that we've achieved. And obviously can't fully take the credit for that, but in terms of how we supported our people through this time, I think it's come out so strongly in the survey. So I can make that correlation. So I'll take that for in terms of the work that we've.
Well, I think it's a good point, given how busy the organization's been and the amount of change and everything else. You're right to perhaps expect a little bit of drop because of how people might be feeling. I think the work you've done has kept that uplift in you that we've seen in engagement, which is really good, and it has meant, as you know, it's an outstanding place to work according to our data and our research and what we see. So I think it definitely does contribute, especially when you lay it all out there and it's very visible and tangible. Jessica, Tamsin, thank you so much. I'm going to move on to the next couple of slides. And now if anyone else has any questions, if there were any in the chat box, you've both done a great job answering them, but we'll pick up any more. Feel free to, of course, get in touch. And I work closely with you two, and I'm sure you'll be happy if there are any questions I need to throw your way after this.
More than happy.
Thank you. We do have a couple more webinars coming up as well. They will be in a deck that gets shared with you afterwards. One on this Thursday, 7th of October. And then we've also got one on Thursday, the 20th of October, or 30th of October. It'll be in the deck. These will be there, and it's about unlimited platform use from a university and from another organization. For now, we are finishing the webinar, but just to say thank you to everyone who has attended. For every attendee, we'll be planting a tree with your name on it. And Jessica, Tamsin, because of your input here, we'll be planting 100 trees in your name or National Gallery in the countries we partner with and work with. So lots of benefits which you shared with, but also lots of trees, and we all love trees. The more, the merrier. So thank you once again. And please do get in touch. We'll love to talk to you. We'll love to hear your story or how we can help. Or even if you already do a survey, but you just want an external opinion, objective view on how it can improve, how you can focus on action planning, for us to show you the incredible platform we have. I would love to show you Prism itself, manage your action planning, and the incredible advancements we're making there. So please get in touch, scan this. I think you can click on the link when the deck comes across, and we'll be delighted to speak with you. So from everyone from here, from People Insight, thank you very much for attending, and wishing you all a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.